Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Borderless JS AI Edition conference. Right, we are in the middle of our journey. So today is the day 3 of this event series, and today we have amazing talk. But actually, previously we had 3 amazing talks as well. Right, we had a talk about Cursor. We had a talk about evolving AI. Yesterday we had talk about voice agents. So if you missed them, feel free to watch our recording. It is available. And today we have all things about Vibe development, right? And it is my pleasure to welcome on the stage our speaker, Dennis. Yes, again, Dennis. So as you can see, he thinks that he is vibe coding master, and that is why he will share all the best practices, all the pitfalls, and all other good and maybe bad things about vibe code development. And actually, my first question, right before we start, Dennis, any big news, any big stuff happened? Because literally, vibe coding is on hype. Maybe we missed something like yesterday or this night, and we are out of date, right? So, do you mind to tell us more?
For sure, Pasha. Thank you very much for introduction. Uh, in general, that's quite good question about the latest news because, as you know, all this market, all this stuff, like quite hot nowadays. The main news for me during the last couple of days, and I'm even going to start presentation from it. The idea under the hood that the best newsmakers in this area would be maybe CTOs of the big players. I'm talking about Dario Amade, I'm talking about OpenAI, I'm talking about Sam Altman. So, like, those guys definitely, they know better that we are what can be done, what we should do, etc. I would suggest to switch to the presentation. Yes, thank you very much. So, and from a news perspective, let's start from news literally. A couple of months already ago, Dario Amade did this quite interesting mention that within the next 12 months, almost all coding tasks might be handled by AI. And from our point of view, from like developments, from people who is using web coding on everyday as an everyday activity, it sounds quite promising. On the one hand, on the other hand, it's what should we do in this situation if AI will replace us? Good news that we have also answer to Dario from Sam Altman. And it's not only like the answer somewhere in X platform, but it's answer by money. As you know, Sam Altman decided to buy text editor for 3 billions. And that's, I believe, the best like background for our talk today, to see that even those big guys are not fully sure what will be the next. So we can expect some improvement in near future. But for now, we have what we have, and we need to be prepared to use everything that is available in a way where, like, we can do our best and do not pay a lot for it. Let's start with standard SDLC process. So the idea of the presentation itself is about the go through the standard, like our standard process, starting from architecture and planning, go through the implementation, testing, and at the end we are going to talk a bit about the deployment. For now, let's start from the initial one. Let's start with architecture and planning. In general, if you take a look on some courses on YouTube, most of the people are going to say that, oh, it's so cool. I just tell it like to create something and it did. In the most cases, yes, it could work for, I don't know, some kind of simple form or simple website. But when we start to talk about more or less complex projects, like several components, backend, frontend, etc., unfortunately, it doesn't work in this way. And I can tell you from my own experience that, for example, I would definitely suggest to invest a bit of time to, for example, data structures. Because one time, one day, one guy, even me, do a database project with database, and this mistake, not mistake, like I just literally miss the planning stage at the beginning, and then it cost me a lot of money to do all this migration of data on the existing project. So from this perspective, it's much better to do a bit of homework. The idea is the same. Like, we are not reinvent anything there. We are just going in the same way as we are working with human developers. You need some workload breakdown. You need some list of tasks, at least for like on the epic level. You need to define scope. You need to define which tooling, which tool set you want to use. So all those questions needs to be answered before we can literally start working with web coding tools. The good news under the hood of all this stuff that you shouldn't do it by yourself. The good news that still, like, you can ask I don't know, ChatGPT, any other your preferable LLM to help you a bit. The bad news that it's almost, if you are not on the some kind of pro tariff, pro subscription, it will be quite hard to do everything in one step. And one of the minuses of doing everything in one step, it's harder to review it later on. But with with professional subscriptions level, you can just ask for the full breakdown with tasks, with subtasks, with descriptions, with everything, and it will be done. But again, like, review it later on is quite hard. That's why my favorite one, and it's much more cheaper, just to go section by section and do it like in copilot mode with again with your favorite model. For me, it's GPT. So the idea, OpenAI GPT, I mean, the idea is that as soon as you get all the tasks prepared, you have breakdown, you have identify and figure out everything that you need. Using the model, don't using the model, up to you as you prefer. First, it will speed up you later on. Second, it gives you possibility to do not overpay for some things that you are like just literally missed because of laziness, because you like don't see it, whatever. So always start with planning. That's rule number one, and invest in this planning as much as you need. How much you need, you will understand it based on the real experience. Let's move forward and let's talk a bit about the development now. So let's imagine that for our project, we have everything prepared. We have like we did our homework, we prepared everything that we discussed on the previous step. Now you have a list of tasks, you have list of high level tasks, you have some understanding what you are going to do, which stack to utilize, etc. And now we are going into the most interesting part, because now you need to implement it. And the problem is that there are two modes. in the most tools. Doesn't matter, is it, I don't know, WindSurf, Cursor, oh my god, Codex, CLI, Claude Code, whatever. So any of them, they all of them working in more or less the same way. And the idea is that you have two modes. On the one mode, it's I would say the safest way to do it. Yeah, when you need to confirm any action that vibe coding tool is vibe coding agent is going to perform on the file system. But there are a big issue, I would say, with this one, because it's quite slow. When you need to confirm each step, each action, it takes huge amount of time. In some situations, it's even faster to do it by yourself than to confirm and confirm all the operations. That's why, again, my preferable way of doing it is half automatic. So you put the tool into the after approval, but besides that, you need to be in control of the global steps. We are going to talk more detailed about it on the next slide, but for now, just keep in mind that all that we are discussing for development is based on the possibility of vibe coding tool to do a big amount of changes at the same time with in after approval mode. So prompts as a new programming language, that's partially true and partially not true. The main benefit from my point of view that we can use not only prompts. When you have this task prepared on the previous step, let's imagine that, I don't know, you're doing a login system. You can extend the context for vibe coding tool with some additional information, and it's fully up to you. If you want to reuse some specific snippet, if you want to do something, if you want to add some specific tool, whatever, you can just mention it and it will be taken into account by the system. It's one point. And the second point, that nowadays we are not talking only about the prompts, but also about the visual representation. That is, I don't know, my favorite thing that I've dreamed for a long time for any kind of UI front-end development, when you can just show the screenshot to the model and it will work. But when we are talking about any kind of automatic vibe development, we need to take into account that also we need some instruments for the control. And here, this reverse TDD could be a good approach. So again, there are quite big question how many, let's say, money you are ready to waste on tokens for it. Because in the ideal world, of course, you can ask model to start from setup of the test approach, all possible test approaches. In this case, you can implement, I don't know, unit, module integration, end-to-end tests, everything, and then go with standard test approach, just using tests as a control point. It's a good stuff. But the problem is that it will cost you, I don't know, huge amount of money. So from this perspective, my personal preference is to use a bit more high-level tests. It's not so stable, I would say, but it's much cheaper, and in general will guarantee the same quality gain that you had with full setup. Okay, at least more or less. Now, about the embedding the plan in your project folder, not only the plan, I would strongly suggest to kindly ask your vibe coding tool to store as much information as it's possible inside the folder. Now most of them became a bit better because like 2-3 months ago most of the tools doesn't support long-term history. It means that when you start, I don't know, for example, Codex CLI, it will do review of the project from scratch. That is not the case. It's one point. Second point, any kind of decisions, any kind of agreement that you are doing with LLM during the web coding session, it also needs to be like stored somewhere and reflected somehow in project documentation. That's why you can ask or you can edit like a standard instruction, but always try to save as much as you can about the project and manipulations with projects inside the project folder. It could be architecture, it could be module structure, it could be some instructions like how to start, how to debug, it could be, for example, historical data about the tests that we just discussed, etc. So all this information literally is your money, because if something is not available, it takes longer to need to do more analysis, and each step of this analysis, it will be, in fact, like it will be some amount of tokens, some amount of money. I would suggest to move forward, but before we go to the next slide, let's take a look also on the two coding agent in parallel. In general, my preferable one is 3 coding agents in parallel, but the point that we need always take into consideration that the main difference there will be not within the agents. Agents, again, as I said a couple of minutes ago, they are mostly the same. They are mostly similar. Yes, there are some small difference from the prompt perspective, but we need to understand that the main part of the agent is a model. And from this perspective, two agents like using, for example, Claude 3.5, yes, they could be a bit different, but we are talking about 1-2% of efficiency. In reality, without the change of model, you cannot like do so much, at least like based on my experience. So when we are talking about using 2-3 different tools, 2-3 different agents, keep in mind that we are talking, and preferable to use, yes, different agents, but with different model. Just because like different models can have different knowledge about your specific problem. Now, the most important maybe slide of all this presentation, and it's about testing and version control. So all the parts, all the tasks that is done and working, it always should be committed, because it's cheap, it doesn't take a lot of time. But when you have a commit, it should like committing all the changes, all the working changes should become your new religion. From this perspective, it always cheaper to do commit, and if something goes wrong on the next step, on the next iteration, on the next fix, you always literally like just can reset to the previous stage. That's the main idea. If you don't like implementation, you can always reset. If I don't know, something happens, you have your stable last commit version in the repository, and that's the most important part of all the stuff. Because in other case, still like we have manipulations, not always models can do the best possible decision in some situations. So from this perspective, you need to have this insurance. and it's like it will give you a lot of benefits, and it will be much cheaper. The next point there about the bad code, mm, up to you. You can like create tech debt, but my point there that there is no any reason to pay for tech debt. So if it can be fixed, and while it will be fixed quite fast, without any delays, without like those like 2 weeks planning that, oh, we are going to do it in the next sprint. If you can fix it there and now, just do it. Again, because we are talking about tokens, we are talking about the size of your code base. In the most cases, all this smelling code has a bigger amount of lines, like it could be optimized, it could be rewritten in more efficient way, etc. From this point of view, if you can, if you see, if you ready, just do it now. Do not like create a big amount of tech debt for future. Literally, like there is no reason to support this part, because it's like it's fast. You just need to tell your agent what to do, and all this stuff will be like fixed within 1-2 minutes. About tests and my preferable preferences about the integration tests, we already talked on the previous slide. And yes, so run tests continuously. I don't think that we need to go into the details, but you understand that if you have tests, you need to run it. So in the most cases, you even can not do it by yourself, but kindly ask the vibe coding agent like to help you and to do it by itself. It could be done, I don't know, either during via the request, either as an extension of the project level prompt. So up to you, but just keep in mind that it's important. And refactoring, literally the same as with bad code. It doesn't cost a lot of money, it doesn't cost a lot of time, so let's do it in place and do not produce bad code, because all this bad code analysis will take you much more money and tokens in future. But even if we have everything implemented right, even if we have and when we have everything tested, there are still like some problems about the debugging. We need to understand that AI and state of AI dramatically depends on the amount of information available in the world around. I'm talking about dataset. For example, if we have a huge amount of code available for, I don't know, for React, for Angular, that's fine. That's like frameworks that has maybe one of the best support on the LLM level. When we are talking about some, I don't know, specific things like video editing using Node.js, that's a different one because there are not so big amount of examples. And if you try to using vibe coding, try to implement something like this, believe me, you will need debug, and you will need to debug a lot. From this perspective, I create this stage list where like 1 is the most often used action, and 5 is something for complex tasks. I would suggest to go through it and see like how it can help us in real life. As you understand, for debugging, the most simple way to do it, just copy paste the raw message. Depends on your configuration, depends on the agents that you are using. In some cases, you even don't need to do it because the agent can read it, I don't know, from the logs without you. That's fine. The second point, it's if like first one doesn't work, let's do the second. Let's try to discuss with model what could be potential root causes there, and like what we can do to fix it. The third one, it's quite close to the item from previous slide. The idea to use Git as a save point, like in game. If you pass boss, save, commit. If something goes wrong, you always can load the previous stage and proceed again and again. I wouldn't say that it works for all the cases in such situation, because if model doing a mistake, it's doing it in some reason, but it perfectly works for hallucination, for example. Logging, I believe everyone knows like how to add additional information logging for debugging, so nothing new, but for LLM it also works. And last but not least, we have already like discussed it a bit on the previous slide, then you always can try to switch models, because this point, it's still like valid. Different models has different knowledge, has different data set, and from this perspective, some of them could be a bit better on some specific tasks for like specific things. Now, about the deployment, we are going to like to the end of this story, but deployment still stay quite important part of like all this action, all this stuff. The idea is that you have to approach is how to do it. Nowadays, when we have all this stuff with MCP, for example, and we have MCP for, I would say, almost any cloud, almost like anything that you could potentially use, you can like activate this MCP for your vibe coding agent and use it as an active DevOps engineer, like perform operations, deploy by itself, etc. It's possible, but I would strongly not recommend such kind of things, just because still, remember our previous discussion, some bugs, some hallucination could appear, and maybe it's not the best thing that you are going to do with your deployment environment. So for tests, that's fine, but for production, different. It could be implemented in different way. It's one point. And the second point is that it's almost not reusable. So that's why my implementation is the second one, about the automate asset creation. Doesn't matter how it could be done. Make file, Terraform, I don't know, generation of Kubernetes specification, up to you, up to your requirements, up to your situation. But when you have all this stuff like written down as a script, first, it's almost more easier. I don't know. Let me start from beginning. It's much easier to deploy it, on the one hand. On the other hand, you always have like reusable database of applicant scripts that could be reviewed, and that where the place where you have like full control about the execution, about the review. You can, I don't know, show it to your friend, lead DevOps, etc. And also it could be like validated by using the automatic scanners, for example. So definitely, like, my preference will be on this green light. Now we are almost done, so let's finalize the presentation, and at the end I want to talk just a bit about the modern solutions that we have for now. So the main point, as we already discussed, is outdated knowledge of the or bad data set of the model. In general, we can improve it. So we can improve it by using additional local documentation or use MCP I forgot the name. Context 7, Cortex. No. So MCP to get information about the latest updates of libraries. If you know the name, write it.
That's the context 7. Yeah.
7. Okay, I just want to ask people to write it in comments if they remember. Good. Thank you, Pavel. Anyway, so about this possibility to put inside the agent screenshots we already discussed. And last but not least, it's an option that potentially maybe could speed up your development experience. It's about the usage of voice. To be honest, from my point of view, 50-50. I know a lot of people who can talk. I know a lot of people who can write code, but I don't know a lot of people who can do both at the same time. So if we are talking about usage of voice as, let's say, audio messages, yes, maybe it makes sense. Like offline, like voice emails. If we are talking about real-time conversation, I would strongly not recommend to do it. Just because like you always need time, and a real-time conversation push you to do some decisions on the fly. It could look quite good, quite interesting for, I don't know, for YouTube, for demo, for whatever. But in real life, my recommendation would be to avoid it, because it's too risky. You are not in rush. You need some time to think about your next decision as soon as you have such good code creation automation tool as Vibe Code Agent. And maybe last but not least, it's always remember that it's preferable to create some kind of modular service-based design from beginning, just because it's easier and cheaper to modify it in future. And of course, like it's better for code structure. Again, like you can use as a tech stack whatever you want, but let's be realistic. If you choose something convention rich, it will be easier. And last but not least, yes, do not like risk a full amount of your code base. If you are doing some prototyping, if you are doing some risky operations, don't use only the commit, but also use branching in Git. Last slide for today. So thank you very much to listen. And my last phrase will be, guys, you just need to start, and in near future you understand how easy and how efficient web coding could be personally for you. Also, within just a couple of weeks, you are going to get full the experience and understand better how to how to speak with your favorite model. Thank you very much. That's it from my side. So back to Pavel.
Yeah. Thank you, Dennis, for this amazing set of advice for you guys. And actually, I really enjoyed how you structured all this, really a million of advice. So thank you very much for that. I don't see any questions yet. So before we wait, right, for some to pop up, do you mind to tell me one thing, right? Remember, like a couple of days ago, we had a discussion about the pricing rise in most of the things, right? So do you think that at some point we will hit this sort of like psychological, right, limit for us to say that, okay, look, you're charging 500, you're charging 1K of dollars for these tools. That's not good. No, I will not continue this vibe coding. I will go old school and I will do the things. So for you, what will be this limit and why?
I don't believe that we are going to reach this limit. Doesn't matter how much it will be for me, because like my motivation could be a bit different. But the main point there that and it's incredible that all those tools are on the open market. It means that this balance in between people who want more money and
Mhm.
the new startups who wants more users.
Mhm.
It always like will give us opportunity to stay in some understandable level of cost. The
Okay.
only difference that I expect in quite near future change of the subscriptions itself,
Mhm.
because you can see that it's already started. It's
Yeah.
cheap for end users, but for enterprise, like API cost will grow. That's my
Mhm.
expectation, because they are replacing people. They are using it for commercial.
Mhm.
So it's understandable that you know providers will try to get as much money as they can.
Okay. So in this case, maybe it will be like a bit of spoiler alert for our tomorrow talk. But still, do you think that at some point, let's say one company, right, has to pay one amount of money for a developer to do the things,
Mm,
and they have to pay the same amount of money for subscription, right, for some
mm.
AI coding tool. And at some point, this AI tool will be way more efficient than this developer. So in this case, maybe AI will eventually replace us. What do you think?
I will tell you tomorrow.
All right, good, good stuff. Right. So, guys, as you can see, it was a good spoiler alert for our tomorrow panel discussions, where we will have a great chat with Dennis, with another chief software engineer, Andrei, with solution architect. I'm going to add my couple of notes as well. So, yeah, tomorrow we will see whether AI will replace us eventually or not. Okay, and yeah, I see that we have some comments about costs, right? So, simply speaking, we did answer them. That's good. Right. As always, guys, if you have any questions later on, feel free to drop the comments in the YouTube, right, or any platform that you're watching us. Dennis will be super happy to answer them all. If you're watching us on YouTube, like, subscribe, do the regular stuff. Happy coding, happy white coding, and yeah, see you soon. See you tomorrow at our panel discussion. And Dennis, thank you very much one more time.
Thank
Bye.
you, guys. Bye bye.